Anyway, it's my pleasure to introduce Elicia for tonight.
Hi, my name is Elicia. I'm an alcoholic. Grateful to be sober, grateful to be in a meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous. Wow. I was told many, many years ago, my sobriety date's June 1st, 1994, first off. And I was taught that when you're asked to show up in a meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous, that you do it. And I was told that you suit up, show up, share what happened, what it's like. How does it go? What happened? What it was like, and what is it like now? And I can hardly wait to see what I'm going to say. So my journey with alcohol started when I was 18. I think I was 18. I was in a school. I used to be legally blind. I was in a school called the Illinois School of the Visually Impaired. And I started hanging out with some college kids that were interns at the school. And one of the girls and I got pretty close and good friends. And she took me to this party, this crazy party with all these Spanish people, and they were all speaking Spanish and listening to Spanish music, and I drank tequila, and they told me I had to eat the worm. My result, it was the next day I threw up all day long. I had to sneak out of my dorm, and I left the door a little open, not knowing that they had cameras and they knew. And so I went to the Illinois School for the Visually Impaired, which was a school for not only the visually impaired, blind, deaf, but also mentally, they had mental problems. And most of those kids there were trouble. Some of them went blind because they tried to commit suicide and it didn't work. And so I snuck out, and I never got in trouble for that. The next time I drank, I was at my graduation the night before. I was mad at my mom because she didn't show up and she wasn't there. And I went over to my girlfriend's and opened her thing, and I was like, she had hard lemonade and I drank it. And the next day I kept drinking, and I was drunk at my graduation. At my graduation, I was the class valedictorian, a straight A student. And I had to stand up in a speech, and I was drunk in front of the whole school. And I proceeded to berate my mother when she finally didn't show up. And, that's part of my humiliation a little bit. And so I'm going to tell you what got me there, why I started drinking in the first place. First of all, it was to fit in, because as a very young kid, had a problem with fitting in. I not only couldn't see good, but I had two different colored eyes. I was blind. I wasn't totally blind yet, but I had one green eye. My left eye was a green eye. My right eye was brown. I used to get picked on so bad over that. And I'm from Chicago. My family upbringing is Jewish. I was Jewish. I lived in a drug addict home. And things happen to little girls that shouldn't happen to little girls in drug addict and alcoholic homes. And As a result, I was trafficked. I was sex trafficked. My mother sold me to a guy that shot child porn. So when I found alcohol, and I realized that that could shut those voices up about that, about I'm a bad girl, I'm a piece of crap, how could God love a girl like me? It shut it up. It quieted my brain. It made me be able to come out and play. And it also made me let everybody know that I didn't like them. And as a result, I was violent, very violent when I drank. And I went to jail several times because of it. And when I drank, I set out for purpose to drink. I wanted to die. I wanted to die. And I remember when that happened. I remember when the change happened, when it went from fun to I want to die. I remember the exact day. I remember sitting in the bar. I remember I ordered a whole pitcher of beer, and I don't even like beer. And the bartender says, "Are you sure you're going to drink this? I don't think you should drink this much beer." And I said, "I plan to get drunk." And I drank that whole beer. And I remember being carried home by a military guy. Put me in bed and left. And when I drink, I don't know where I'm going to end up, who I'm going to be with, what I'm going to be doing, where I'm going to be. And I came to in Honolulu, Hawaii, married to a sailor on an aircraft carrier. Okay, so that's what happens to me when I drink. I don't know what the heck I'm going to do. Another time, I came to in a jail cell, and I remember getting to jail. I remember them sitting there, and then when they put you in that room and they ask you all these questions before they put you they decided they're going to put you in a drunk take or solitaire, wherever they're going to put you. I told them, if you put me in there, I'm going to kill myself. Bad thing to do. So they took everything I had, including my clothes, and left me with a piece of paper to cover myself. Left me totally naked in the cell. And so the only way I could get warm, talk about humiliation, the only way I could get warm was to wrap myself in that hard mat that they give you. And I remember when the guard came in and told me, "Elicia, if you just stop crying," because I started crying because I could not figure out how a nice Jewish girl like me ended up there. And he told me that if you just stop crying, we'd let you go home 12 hours ago. I was like, okay. And so I had to figure out how to stop crying. I'm naked in a jail cell, freezing to death. So only thing I can think of is what I see on TV, what you see them do in jails. So I jumped on the floor and started doing sit-ups and push-ups and jumping jacks so that I could get through the next however long. And then he came back laughing. The guy was laughing. And he's like, "Okay, now you can go home. You stop crying." And, okay. And they proceeded to give me a lecture about alcoholism and give me a lecture about why I was there, and told me what to do and to get help, blah, blah, blah. And I said, okay, and I left, and the next thing I did was went to the bar as soon as I left. And that's how I drink, you know. And the next time I drank, I used to live right down the street, literally on what is that street called? I don't know, but right on Decatur, right there, right down the street from Stairway 1. But I didn't know it was Stairway 1. I didn't know what that place was. I just drank at the bar next door. Stairway 1 was, at that time, was on the left side of Lou's Diner. And I used to drink at that bar, and I used to walk past that bar all the time. And one time I got in an argument with my boyfriend at the time. We were both drunk and got in a fight, and he kept telling me, come on, let's just go home, let's go home. And I was like, no, I'm not ready to go home. I still want to party. And so he leaves and goes home, and he's in a drunk or stupor too, right? So he changes all the locks while I'm gone, and I don't even know it. Somehow, I don't know how he did it, but somehow he made it so I couldn't get in the house. And so I had to climb in through the bathroom window. So that's another way what happens to me when I drink, you know. I also wake up underneath cars, stairwells, jails, institutions. I don't know where I'm going to be. And so I'm proceeding to go to that bar. And there's this guy outside. This guy standing out at this door smoking. There's a bunch of guys standing out smoking. I don't know what they're doing. They're just smoking cigarettes. And they're talking, and they got to know me by name. And this one guy, I don't see him anymore. I don't even know where they are, where he is. I think they moved to Texas or something. I don't know. But he was my angel. He said to me, Elicia, he got to know me by name. That's how often I walk past that place. And he said, why do you go in that bar? And I said, I don't know. I don't plan on drinking. I think I was just going to order a cranberry and Coke or something. But I always end up drunk. And he said, well, next time, instead of going in there, you can come in here. This is a safe place. Not knowing what that is. I didn't know what that was. He didn't tell me. He just told me this is a safe place. And so I'm a binge drinker. I'm not one that drinks all day long every day, but when I drink, I just don't know how much I'm going to drink or what's going to happen. And I usually go on a binge for a week, and then I wouldn't drink for a week or something like that. And then I go on a binge again. And so I'm at work, and this girl screams and yells at me, like insanely screams and yells at me, and I don't know what I did. But I know I went out with her and her friends, and we all went over to her house, and I don't remember anything that happened. All I know is she screaming, yelling at me, you effing, sorry, God, you know, calling me a drug addict, an alcoholic, and all kinds of stuff. And I said, what did I do so bad for you to be so mad at me? And she said, you did all our cocaine, you drank all our alcohol, and you slept with my husband. Wow, okay. And her girlfriend. I slept with both of them. You know, so that's, you know. So I go on my binge, and I come to with that splitting headache and just screaming rage in my brain, and I just can't do it anymore, and I don't know what to do and what not to do, and I want to die, and I fall to my knees, and I scream out loud to God, and I say, just take me out of this world. I didn't say it that way. I said it not so nice, but I said, just take me out of this world. I want nothing to do with these people. I don't want anything to do with humans. You got to remember, I don't like humans because I was trafficked. I was abused. I was raped. So I don't like humans. I'm scared of humans. I don't trust them. I want nothing to do with them. So I want to drink myself to death. So I get to my knees, and I beg God to take me out of this world. And I proceed to head to work. I used to work in a bar, and I proceed to head to work, and I go to the bar to have my drink like usual, right? But instead of going to the bar, I walk into the men's stag at Stairway 1. The 12 p.m. meeting. 12:15, I think it's 12:15. And I walk in there, and they look at me and they say, sit down, and they give me a cup of coffee and said welcome, and they let me stay. And then afterwards, they handed me over to Quality Air, to the women over there, and which is still my home group today. And they hand me over there, and they tell me there's a different way of life. I don't have to live like this anymore. I don't have to try to kill myself anymore. I don't have to do these things anymore. And there was this little old woman there, Millie Lee. She talked like this. And she walked up to me and said, I'm going to be your sponsor. And I went, what? She said, yeah, you don't get to choose it. You don't get to choose your sponsor. I went, why? Because you don't get to choose anything. You make the wrong choices. Okay. And she tells me, and then there's this other woman, and she told me, okay, so going back to when I first got there, everybody stood up in the room, and they held hands at the end of the meeting, and they said the Lord's Prayer. And I never in my life seen love like that. And I started crying. I couldn't stop crying. And I couldn't leave the room. And because for me, I realized that for the first time in my life, I found somewhere I fit. See, I fit in Alcoholics Anonymous. I'm you. I drank for a lot of the same reasons, not everybody's same reason, but that's why I drank. And they tell me, this one good woman told me, Elicia, you never have to be alone if you don't want to. You never have to drink again if you don't want to. And you never have to feel like this again if you don't want to. When I was new, when I first came in. And I never forgot that. And she's still sober today, and her and I still talk on the phone and go and do things all the time together. And, you know, I got sober with this, I got involved with this crazy group called the Twisted Sisters. We all get together and do all kinds of crazy stuff. And I remember me, Louis Lopez, Scott Shields, Jessica, Rhonda, Jules, and somebody else went to Walmart. This is in sobriety. And we went to Walmart. And we were having so much fun in sobriety that we're riding around on bikes in the store. I got on one of the chairs and was pushing myself around, and we got kicked out of Walmart, sober, doing sober stuff, yeah. That's what you do when you're a newcomer, you know, you're still a kid, basically, you know. You know, they told me I had to work these steps. And I'm like, steps? What are you talking about? I got to walk steps? No. You got to do this work if you want to stay sober and you want to have emotional sobriety, if you want to be sane and have peace. I'm like, okay. And I was scared to death I'd go back to where I was. I didn't want to go back to drinking. I didn't want to go back home. I didn't want to go back to where I came from. And I wanted what she said. I wanted what Millie said, and Millie sat me down. And she told me, well, you got to do this work. And she took me through the steps. And she took the first step is I'm powerless over alcohol and my life's unmanageable. And what I understand of that is that I'm powerless of what alcohol does to me when it goes inside of me. My life is unmanageable by how I manage my life. It's how I manage my life. See, I was running in fear, trying to protect myself, trying to be safe, trying to not get hurt, not, and I was running in fear all the time, and I didn't know it till I started doing the work. And they told me I had to do the steps 2 and I had to do steps 3, and I had to find this power. I had to find this power that I can believe in and I can trust. And I had a hard time with that step 2. I had a hard time with that step altogether, step 3. I really did. And it was because I really believed God did not love girls like me. How could he love me? I was unclean. From 6 years old, I was unclean. I had this mother that would tell me that she had that Jewish finger, that you're a bad girl. God doesn't like what you're doing. And I was just 5 years old playing with toys, and I was getting in trouble, and I was a bad girl. So when I got here and you guys told me how to believe in God, I'm like, God doesn't love me. God's not going to want me. What are you talking about? And as we did the reading, we agnostics, the solution, all the stuff, I found out that wasn't true at all. That God was what brought me to Alcoholics Anonymous. And that God did love girls like me. And then when we had to do that 4th step, I put it off for a long time, and the reason why is because I thought I was being punished one more time. One more time I was going to be told what a bad girl I was a piece of crap. So why would I want to do a 4th step and a 5th step and talk to you so that you can just point your finger at me one more time, And so that's what I believed. But I found out that that's not true either. I found out that 4th step is the freeing. It frees us. When I did that 4th, it talks about we hold on to the most important stuff, the thing that hurt us the most. And my sponsor told me right away, that's what you need to, no, not at first. The first time I did it, I just did like whatever it was, resentments. It was something stupid. I was mad at my mom for this, I was mad for that. But the real stock and trade was the one that got me drunk all the time. And that was my home growing up and my mother. And that's really what I drank over, and that's what hurt me for many, many years, even in sobriety before I went into therapy. When I had to go and get outside help because that's how sick I am. And so I did that 4th and 5th and 6th and 7th, and then I did the 8th, and when I got to the 9th step, I had to make amends to that woman that I hated. For my actions, for what I did, for how I treated her, even though all that happened. And when I went back and, well, I didn't. I pushed it away for a while. I didn't do it. And I got this call, phone ringing, and it's my stepdad. And your mom's in the hospital and she's going to die, and we don't think she's going to make it through. Can you come to Chicago? I'm in Las Vegas, so I got on a plane and went to Chicago. Went to go see my mom, and I walked in the hospital, and I'm sitting there, and I talked to her, and I brought my big book, and I brought a Bible, and I brought all kinds of stuff, and I had some sobriety. I was 10 years sober when this happened, and I sat down next to her and talked to her, and she was under. She had tubes down her throat, tubes she was in a coma, and I proceeded to make amends for my part. And I did not say anything about what she did. And and the nurse comes in, it's 8 o'clock, and the nurse comes in and says, you got to leave because it's 8 o'clock and visitor time's over. And I looked at her and I said, I just traveled 2,000 miles to come here. I haven't seen my mom in 10 years. I'm not leaving this room, so go get me a bed. And she looked at me and I said, I'm serious. And they did. They went and got me a bed. And I stayed in that room. I did not leave her side, and I prayed, and I did everything that I learned in Alcoholics Anonymous. And then the doctor came in. And he said, and he looked at her, and as I was talking, answering his questions and looking at her, and he said, she's responding to you. And we're going to take the tubes out. And they take the tubes out. And she jumped up when they pulled that thing out of her mouth and grabbed my arm and started bawling and apologized for everything she ever did and asked me for forgiveness. That's how Alcoholics Anonymous works. I proceeded to have a relationship with my mother. And I hated that woman. I despised her. I wanted her to die. I proceeded to have a relationship with that lady. And I had 2 kids, and I did the best I could with them. I don't know. I think having kids is a thankless job. I pray God help. But I had 2 beautiful kids. And they're grown and raised and moved. One's married, the other one lives in Reno, and they're living their lives. And they're doing exactly what I did. Exactly what I did, took off, left. And now I know how she felt when I left. And so I'm about 12 years sober, and I'm driving my car back from the Riverside Resort. And I'm in pain. I'm going through a lot. I'm getting myself into situations in sobriety, bad relationships, not healthy ones. And I scream out as loud as I can to God, God help. And I had a spiritual experience in that car driving home. I was ricocheted out of that car. And I'm walking down the street holding Jesus' hand. Not God's hand, Jesus' hand. And he said, I am helping you, Elicia. And a lot of things changed after that for me. A lot of things changed after that. My life changed. I don't know how I got home. I don't remember pulling the driveway. I just remember having that whole conversation walking down the freeway. It was the wildest thing. But they talk about it in the big book that we have to have this spiritual experience. And the whole reason why we're reading that big book is to find a power greater than ourselves that we can go to, even when we can't go to anybody else. And so my relationship changed with my mother. I went back every summer to visit her. Every summer. I went to spend the summer with her. I usually spent a couple weeks, sometimes a month, sometimes 2 months. I go out there and spend it with her. And 2020, a lot more changes happened. I was living in Utah, and some missionaries kept coming to the house. Somehow I got baptized and became a Mormon. LDS, and it's kind of wild. You know, I'm really glad I did, because I found out it's just a sober society of people. They're just trying not to drink and do drugs and trying not to smoke and trying to do God's will. They're trying to help people, God's people. That's all they are doing. And I didn't know that but I just was in so much pain over some stuff that was going on that I would have done anything at that point, you know. And see, for me, I got to keep growing closer to God. And if the person I'm in the relationship doesn't grow closer to God, it just doesn't work. And thank you, Gail. So she calls me up and she says, they got a job for this person. the stripper, and they need an actress. And I showed up and I walked in, they said, actress walking through the door. And I was like, wow, okay. And so my first acting job, I was in a strip club. And it was an interesting thing. But a lot of my dreams have come true. Sober. I've gotten to be in over 21 movies and TV shows. But that's because Alcoholics Anonymous taught me how to suit up and show up, even when I don't know how, just to do it. You know, I own my own business. I have my own cleaning business today. Me. Who'd think I'd be cleaning houses? It pays pretty darn good, actually. You know, God is good. God is good. And Alcoholics Anonymous gave me a way of life that I could never imagine. In 2022, I got a phone call at I think it was, I was at the mall. I'm going shopping, and I don't know why I'm going shopping. Something's wrong. Something doesn't feel right inside of me. My soul doesn't feel right, and I don't know why. And so I'm at the mall, and I got a pocket full of money because I've been saving up my money, and I can go shopping, and I was thinking I'm going to go shopping, and I'm at the mall, and I get this phone call. Chicago Police Department. Who do I know that lives in Chicago? My mother. So they proceeded to tell me that my mother had died. I start bawling. I'm in the middle of the mall, and I don't know anybody in the mall, right? And I'm there by myself, and I'm uncontrollably crying, crying, bawling out loud in front of all these people. My mother just died. And so I go back home. And I go to tell my husband, and I tell him my mom just died. I got to go to Chicago. I have and she's Jewish, so I have 3 days to bury her, and it has to be done in 3 days. And I got to go now. And I asked him to go with me. And he proceeded to tell me that for him to go to Chicago with me would be a burden on him and his family. And so I go to Chicago and bury my mother by myself. I get in that car and I bury my mother by myself. And I get to Chicago and I'm freaking out and I don't know what to do. And I'm all alone and I'm scared and I'm freaking out. And I pick up the phone and I call not 911. I call Alcoholics Anonymous and I say, I need to go to a meeting. Can you send somebody to come get me, please? And I told them what was going on. The phone rings. It was Louis Lopez, who has 30-something years sobriety that I grew up with in Alcoholics Anonymous. He's living in Chicago, moved back home. And he showed up to my house and helped me pack my house and helped me talk to my mom. I mean, not talk to my mom, but helped me with everything that I needed to do. And stayed there and took me to meetings. And that's how Alcoholics Anonymous shows up, and that's how God shows up for me. That's how God shows up for me. So then I go back to Chicago, back to Las Vegas after that, and I go and I have talked to my girlfriends and my sponsor and everybody, and my husband leaves, and I got a U-Haul around the corner, and we move. They come and get me and move. An hour and a half I was gone. I was out of the house. I moved out, and I made that decision because honestly it was a good decision for me. I don't know what it was for anybody else, but for me it was a good decision, and I moved out. So proceeding to say 2022, what I went through. 2022, my mother died. my best friend of 35 years, who knew me when I wasn't sober and when I was sober, all those years, died. Who I was living with because I moved in with her after, because she had cancer and I was moved in to take care of her after I moved out. And then my father died. Well, he died before my mom, like 6 months before my stepdad. Then my mom dies. Then my best friend dies. Then my husband texts me and says he wants a divorce. And so I go through a divorce in 2022. This was a hard year for me. Hard year for me. And I picked up the phone and I called Deborah, who's my sponsor today, because Millie passed away. Oh, and that's when Millie, okay, so what happened with Millie was she called me one afternoon, 4 o'clock maybe it was, I don't remember exactly what time it was, but she called me and she said she was just having this conversation, all excited, and can I speak to the kids, and talk to the kids, and then talk to me again, and then said, I want you to move here. She wanted me to move there. She had moved to Birmingham and wanted me to move there. And then I hang up the phone, and we got off the phone, and 4 o'clock in the morning, I get a phone call from the hospital. They're looking for her family. She passed away. So a lot of stuff happened at one time that year, one time. And so I called Deborah, and I tell her what's going on. I tell her everything that's happening, and she says, come home, Elicia. So I came home, and she said, go to Quality, go back to your home group, and get back in touch with your home group. And I got back in Alcoholics Anonymous. I was already in Alcoholics Anonymous, but I mean, I got back with my original home group that I got sober with, who saved me. They grabbed a hold of me. They helped me get through this. This was so painful. 2022 was a bad year. It was a hard year for me. And and then, so I'm still, God's good. I could tell you something funny. So I go to the Mormon church, right? Or not Mormon church, but the LDS church. I go, and I'm there every Sunday all the time, and just kind of doing what I, just doing me. And they called me. They gave me a calling, and they made me the head. What is it called? It's first counselor, president of primary. They gave me a title. This alcoholic, a title. I have a title. And basically, I'm in charge of the Sunday school with the kids. Of making their curriculum. So I get to make decisions with the other president, and we make decisions on the curriculum that's going on. And it's pretty wild. I do a big book study at 6 p.m. at Bungalow Club. Not a big book study, it's a back to basics, where we go through the steps in 4 weeks. I think it's taken us 6 weeks to get through. It's taken us a little longer, but we're doing it, Alcoholics Anonymous became my family, because when I came here, I didn't have family. My family was in Chicago. I had nobody. And this is my family. This is where I feel comfortable. And, I got this power greater than myself that I can trust and rely on no matter what. And that I can feel and I listen to now, where I used to not listen to it. I used to run off and get married and not listen to my gut when it said run. I would run forward instead of run backwards. I basically tell God to kiss my butt and just go, and do what I want. And now I listen to it. That saying that says, don't do this. I hear it. And now I listen to it. I live across the street from the Bungalow Club. I get to see alcoholics all day long. Every day, all I have to do is walk across the street. It's pretty wild, but Okay, so I got this diagnosis. I went to the doctor and I was telling him I was having all these symptoms and this was going on, and they told me I had thyroid cancer. So this year I was diagnosed with thyroid cancer. And they put me on this medication, which it seems like it's going away, but now the doctors called me and told me that I need to come in tomorrow. He said, well, we got your results, you need to come in tomorrow immediately. Uh-oh. So I don't know if it's gone or if it's worse or what it is, but I don't know. I know God will get me through everything and anything, you know. God is good. And the power that I believe loves me unconditionally, even when I screw up, he still loves me. But that is not how I came in here. I did not believe that. And, you know, and I do that 12-step every day. Sometimes just speaking in a meeting, sharing. You know, I do those steps, 10, 11, and 12, you know, the best of my ability. I'm not perfect. Sometimes I think, oh, I can do it. And then I realize, oh, no, do I want to pay that price? No, okay, I'll do my steps. I'll keep doing the work. My Deborah has always pounded in me that, you know, write about it, you know. Anyways, Alcoholics Anonymous saved my life, and it gave me a way to have peace between these years. And that's all I have. Thanks for letting me share.